You're listening to the Snob OS podcast, the podcast for Apple snobs. Yo, this is Terrence Gaines, aka Brother Tech.
And this is Nika Montfort, aka Tech Savvy Diva.
And welcome back to the Snob OS show, the show for Apple snobs, where we talk all things Apple and then some. We definitely want to say happy holidays to the Philadelphia Eagles, who won their Super Bowl match against the Kansas City Chiefs. You know, everybody's divided, everybody's got their opinions, but that ain't this show. But I definitely want to say congratulations, because I was rooting for the Eagles. So this is my show. I'm gonna be biased. You just got to deal with it.
Yes.
So yeah. So definitely want to thank you back to the show. This is episode 301 of the Snob OS show. And as per usual, we always want to thank all those people who have been holding us down. If you want to be one of those people that's holding us down financially, please go to patreon.com/snoboscast. Get the download on how you can get our exclusive content that you won't see on this show, how to listen to the show live, and how to be a part of our snobist community. So having said that, we're going to get right into the show. We always start with the Lowdown, where we talk all things Apple. And there were a bunch of updates. Seems like every week there are updates, but this one seemed pretty important. Apple has actively patched a 0-day exploit in an emergency update. And basically what this update does, the vulnerability has been described as an authorization issue that could make it possible for a malicious actor to disable the USB restricted mode on a locked device as part of a cyber physical attack. So to break that down, Apple has come out with features that enables you to disable the USB. So the only thing you can do is charge. It can't connect to no computers. It can't connect to anything else but for charging. There's a feature that you can turn that on and off. It seems like these hackers or whomever is exploiting that feature and turning that on so they can then pull the data off your device. So keep in mind, this is not an internet attack, an online attack. They actually have to have your phone in order to then break it to it using this exploit. So, you know, people, your phone come up missing, stolen, whatever the case may be. They were taking those phones and using this 0-day exploit to gain access to your phone, even if you have that USB protected mode toggled on. So Apple quickly patched that, put out all of these updates, iOS 18.3. But I ain't even gonna go through the numbers. If you got a phone, if you got a watch, if you got an iPad, if you got a Mac, all of them have an update that you need to go ahead and go out and update.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. A lot of times, you'll hear lately, especially, is don't plug your device into a random USB cable to charge it. If you're say you're at a conference, or you're at the airport, or you at a convention center, or any of those public arenas, your device can be hacked by plugging in, the USB connection. So it kind of is one of those things that this particular feature was supposed to protect you against. But now, when the issue was exploited, it kind of was like null and void. It really didn't matter. So this fix is supposed to combat the exploit that these hackers found, which is what hackers do. And it's one of those things where you can't find every issue that comes with these computers in our pockets. So when an issue is found, you try to mitigate that fallout as quickly as possible, get it patched, inform people, and this is what Apple's done.
All right, moving on to the next one. A lot of people were upset with this latest iOS update. I just mentioned 18.3, specifically iOS 18.3. With that update, T-Mobile iPhone users now can test, or a select few users can now set up, enroll in T-Mobile's Starlink satellite access. Starlink is a company of Elon Musk. And when this was announced, they also had a Super Bowl ad to where T-Mobile has announced this new satellite Starlink access. So you can, as long as you, same thing with the iPhone SOS feature that came out a couple years ago. As long as you've got line of sight to the clear sky, you can access satellites to send text messages without data or Wi-Fi connectivity. Well, a lot of people were airing their grievances as it relates to T-Mobile partnering with Starlink, which is a Elon Musk company. A lot of people were upset. They didn't want anything to do with Elon Musk and any of his companies. What makes matters worse is the whole government thing with the Department of Government Efficiency and all the things that Musk has his hands in as far as the federal government is concerned. They really are skittish about letting one of his companies be on their phone. So a lot of people were not updating it. A lot of people were upset. They were sending messages to support forum pages. But basically, you do have a right to be concerned, but I don't believe that just because T-Mobile has partnered with Starlink doesn't necessarily mean that Elon has your data. Now, if
He
you
has
don't
it through
want to,
Doge, so
I guess my point is, if you choose to not download this update or get rid of T-Mobile because they have partnered with Elon Musk, I agree with you 100%. But
absolutely.
I don't want you to be scared into thinking, into thinking that just because you have T-Mobile, just because you have an iPhone, and just because they have announced this partnership automatically means your phone is now connected to Starlink. You got to go in and enable stuff. Again, before that, you have to be one of the users that they have selected to actually utilize this as far as a test program. I don't know if it's released internet or globally to everybody with a T-Mobile phone, because I have a T-Mobile iPhone. We're a T-Mobile family. I haven't seen anything on my phone that has prompted me to set this thing up, turn it on, or whatever the case may be. So I just wanted to put that PSA out there that yes, Starlink has partnered with T-Mobile to provide satellite access, but right now don't necessarily mean that all your data is at risk yet.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, as with, emergency SOS, you have to go through the steps to kind of prepare it to be able to even connect to the satellites. I would assume that one, that's already natively built into all iPhones. So this sounds a little redundant to me. So this partnership is kind of weird. Um
Yeah, I don't know. You make a good point. I'm not sure why T-Mobile did this when it seems like Apple and whatever third-party companies that they were using to provide satellites to provide the
mhm,
connectivity seem to be working. Maybe
mhm,
T-Mobile decided they wanted to scale it up. I'm not sure. I didn't do enough research to figure out why this partnership, but I saw
mhm.
people freaking out, and I was like, all right, well,
Yeah.
you ain't got your data yet. You got to turn some stuff on. You got to be selected. You got to jump through some hoops before your phone is actually connected to anything Elon is doing right now. Anyway.
Yeah, and I think, and I and it seems to me that people are already concerned with Elon as it is, and any type of additional intervention from him, it just really gets people up in arms and, nervous because they've seen what's happened with the federal government. And I think people are a bit on edge when it comes, even more than it was before, because before he was just, this kind of eccentric weird dude who bought Twitter and messed it up, but now he's interfering with the
United States
core
government.
foundation. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that causes people
It gives
concern,
people
which I get.
pause.
Yeah, and I get why they are willing to be like, whoa, 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 let's have a conversation. Because what's up? What's going on?
Yeah. Like I mentioned, it's currently in beta, so it's not public and not everybody has access to it. So you do have to be selected as a user. Again, I wasn't selected,
Mhm.
so I'm straight, but yeah, just want to put that
For now.
just want to put that PSA out there. All right, so the next thing I got going on is I'm pretty sure this week people are from Super Bowl celebrations. They are back on Earth and have found out that Donald Trump has signed an executive order to rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Gulf of America. Google and Apple, which is probably the two map creators out there with Google Maps and Apple Maps, they have, what's the word? Bended the knee, I guess. Kissed the ass. Call it whatever you acquiesce. That's the better word. Acquiesced to the change in the name to the Gulf of America. And now if you open up Apple Maps, if you open up Google Maps, you will now see the Gulf of America instead of the Gulf of America. Now, instead of Gulf of Mexico. Now, Apple has just made this change, and it is what it is, because I'm assuming they're complying with federal law, because he didn't just change the name. They actually submitted it to the national, whatever it is that names things, and they themselves, this entity, has published this change. So it sounds like, I want to believe that Apple is just following along with protocol. But the reason why I question that is because, unlike Apple, and I just pulled this quote from this story, Google Maps displays different names depending on a user's location. For example, users in Mexico will continue to see the body of water labeled as the Gulf of Mexico, and users in other countries will see the Gulf of Mexico alongside Gulf of America in parentheses. Other mapping apps like Microsoft's Bing and MapQuest continue to show the Gulf of Mexico. So while I want to believe that Apple is just following protocol, MapQuest, Google to a certain extent, Microsoft's Bing have all kind of pushed back in their own little way. And I'm curious as to why Apple didn't do a kind of similar, kind of like, all right, we're going to go along, but not really. They just changed it and went on. So I just want to get your take on why Apple went that route versus trying to be a little bit more pushbacky.
Right. So I was having this conversation with friends on Saturday. We were out, we were having dinner, and they were talking about it. I'm like, what? I don't believe it. And so then I opened up Google Maps and I was like, oh, this is BS. And then I checked Apple Maps and it hadn't changed. I was like, okay, good. Thank you, Tim Cook, for being the reason in this. And then when I saw online that it changed in Apple Maps, I was like, you got to be kidding me. But again, the executive order that guy signed, it's all performative, because again, they have this whole notion that the southern border of the United States is being overrun with quote unquote illegals. People can't be illegals, first of all. But, it's part of his whole performance to show his supporters, his rabid, uninformed, ill-informed supporters, that, see, I told you I was going to do this and I was going to make everything America first. And if you look at this, it's only done for the United States, because it's only performative for the US audience. We live in a global society. Nobody else on this big floating rock that we live on is doing this. I'm not too surprised at Google for doing this, but I have to say I am extremely disappointed that Tim Cook did this as well. Why I think that him and Satish and Shuchar, all of these people, Zuck, all these people are, maybe not Zuck because he's kind of on the red pill thing, but I think because they've all met with him privately, I think this is all a part of some sort of elaborate, maybe not even elaborate, this is a money thing.
Okay.
And it's one of the things that they agreed to do in order for him to not retaliate against them, whether it be on these tariffs, whether it be on, dragging these company CEOs into Congress. Basically, we're living in almost like this alternate universe. So it's one of those things where the rules that we used to live by don't apply. And these people are letting co-presidents Musk and Trump do whatever they want.
Right.
I think these companies are afraid of what might, in their sick minds, these folks may think of. So I think they went to Mar-a-Lago. They showed up at the inauguration, all to stroke his ego, all to, make it, yeah, see, he's like, see, the cool kids like me, I have to support all. I believe that they're doing this to prevent harm from coming to their companies.
Mhm.
That part, it's mildly understandable, but how much are you going to pimp yourself out? How much are you
Where's
going
the
to whore
line?
yourself
Where's the
out
line?
for this guy?
Uh,
Because it seems like there's a line, and then the line keeps getting pushed
mm.
and pushed and pushed. And how far into the abyss are you going to go before you say enough is enough? But by the time you get to that point, it's going to be too late. You're going to have lost the goodwill and the trust of the people who pay
We
for
shall
these
see.
things.
We shall see. One of my gripes about us people
Mhm.
is we don't like to be inconvenienced.
True.
Any little bit of inconvenience, it's hard. I'm not talking about necessarily about
Yeah.
boycotting. I'm not talking about, well, I'm inclusive of all that, but it's not just
Right.
boycotting. Like, people don't like to be inconvenienced. So it will be
And
interesting.
I'm the more fan of that. And I've said before, I'll pay for convenience.
Right.
So
It'll be interesting to see. Let's fast forward, 4 years from now, there's another person in office. Let's just say, let's for argument's sake, let's just say a Democrat is in office. They kind of turn all this stuff around. We're changing that. We're stopping that. We're doing this, whatever. It will be interesting to see how companies about face again, because when George Floyd came, the whole movement, Me
black
Too,
squares.
they flipped, right? And they kind of
Hmm.
held that for a couple years through COVID, through Biden, and then now when Trump came, they flipped, turn off all that stuff, right? 4 years from now, let's say somebody who is in favor or is, let's just say a Republican gets in office and he's kind of like, yeah, we got other stuff we worrying about now, whatever the case may be. It'll be
Hmm.
interesting to see how companies flip back around again and celebrate, all the things. It's like, it'll be interesting to see how people react. And I hate to be a cynic, but, as soon as we start seeing things, the tide kind of shift and the companies, celebrate inclusiveness and celebrate, all these things, I got a feeling people will go along. And
Majority probably will, I think. But I think this current administration hasn't even been in office a full month.
mhm,
And the things that they've done, the way they've made people feel, if they've done this in less than a month, I don't know what the psyche of the American people, and honestly, the people around the world, are going to be in 4 years. Just knowing what's happened in this last 20 some odd days, multiplying that by 4 years, I, I,
I'll tell
I
you what
don't know
people
if
are going to
people
do.
are going to easily go back.
They're going to retreat within themselves. I'm only concerned about
Mhm.
me. I'm only concerned about my family, whether it be husband and
Mhm.
wife, kids, husband, kids, parents, grandparents,
Immediate family,
that
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 type of stuff. Yeah.
immediate family. I'm not going to be watching the news anymore. The whole, I'm not being as concerned with my fellow man anymore,
Mhm.
and I'm just going to focus on me. And again,
Make people more selfish.
we're already an individualistic society, and I think it's only going to get worse. So all that to say, when things turn back around, I really believe people will just business as usual. Because of convenience. It's inconvenient to boycott. It's inconvenient to change cell phone providers. It's inconvenient to change banks. It's inconvenient to sell your Tesla. It's inconvenient to do all the things, right? And I think people will just be like, throw their hands up and be like, what are you going to do? Unfortunately.
Yeah. Apathy is going to run amok
Yep.
because people are already tired. I know I'm not even, I love to be on social media and see like fun stuff and mess, but I've turned my app limits back on for social media, and I've decreased the time. And normally, when it says, you've run out of time, you can always ignore it. But even now, when I hit that limit, I go and I do something, more productive
Mm-hmm.
with my time, because it really truly is exhausting. And it's one of those things where I, just random times in the day, I was like, oh my God, is this really life? Because it's so hard to fathom that this is where we are. We just saw, them in the Oval Office, and he has his kid in there with him on his shoulders, like they're at a freaking amusement park, and it's like, what is this?
That's what y'all.
What is this?
What I say is that's what y'all
That's
asked
what they
for.
wanted. Yeah,
All right.
they are getting exactly what they
All
wanted.
right.
So,
All right.
best of luck.
Moving on to the next thing. Apple Watches on ankles. There's a weird growing trend to where more people are starting to wear their Apple Watch on their ankle as opposed to their wrist. Here's some of the reasons why people prefer to wear Apple Watch on their ankle. Some people have tiny wrists, and the Apple Watch fits too loosely for accurate heart rate sensing. People with wrist tattoos believe that the ink may interfere with heart rate sensing. Some people believe the Apple Watch provides more accurate step counting when it's worn on the ankle compared to the wrist. Some people with skin conditions prefer to wear Apple Watch on the ankle. Some medical professionals cannot wear anything on their wrist. So you think of like a surgeon, they can't, they operate on people. They can't have anything on no rings, no bracelets, no watches, right? So those are all the reasons as to why, some of the reasons why people are starting to wear their Apple Watch on their wrists. Now, of course, Apple hasn't said anything directly, but I mean, they've done the research, they've done the testing, they've done all of the things to where I'm assuming a lot of these issues, with the exception of people with skin conditions and medical professionals, people just thinking that, oh, my tattoo's going to mess it up, or, oh, my wrist is too small. I'm pretty sure, I want to bet my money on Apple has taken that into consideration when they decided that the wrist is where they're going to do all the monitoring, all the step counting, all the sleep things, all this stuff, right? Apple does say in their support documents that the device's heart rate and calorie measuring functions are validated for wear on the wrist, and no mention of ankle anywhere. Apple has not publicly come out and advised people against wearing Apple Watch on the ankle, but it's not something that is that the documentation acknowledges at this time. So basically, Apple's saying, look, you do what you want. I'm just telling you, we made the watch.
That's not what it's made for.
Right. We made the watch for the wrist. So all of our testing suggests that the best place is on the wrist. But you paid your $300 to $800 for the wrist, for the watch. So do your thing.
Wherever you want to, I guess. That's just weird. Can you even take your heart rate on your ankle? Like normally you check like the different pressure points where you can do your heart rate. And I didn't think there was a way is there a pressure point
Well,
that
not
does
necessarily
your
a pressure
pulse on your
point.
ankle?
The way I understand the Apple Watch works is it measures, it uses the light to kind of visually see the blood pumping through the veins. And as it's seeing those blips or whatever it sees, then it's using that to count the heart rate. So as long as you got a vein that's got blood pumping through it, or a vein that's pumping blood through it, technically the watch can see it, in quote. But I don't trust. Yeah, but I don't trust it. Now, if you just want to be one of the cool kids, go ahead.
No, I just said it's just weird. I wouldn't trust if people talking about their wrists are too small. Is your ankle that much bigger? Like I have small wrists, and my ankle is relatively small. I don't think there's a huge difference in size of your wrist and the size of your ankle. That's weird.
Yeah, just putting it out there. Apple doesn't support it, so if you're wearing your watch on your ankle and something happens, Apple's told you, hey, we didn't make
Don't
it
try
like
to
this.
sue us.
Yeah.
Because it's not made for that. But that's just weird. It seems like it would be uncomfortable too. Like you have on jeans, or if you have on boots, or if you have on socks, like
those are all questions that I do not have the answers to. All right, so that is going to do it for the lowdown. We're going to move into second string, and I wanted to put this story out there because I fight with my kids all the time about don't make your passwords too easy, don't make your pins too simple, don't do things that are, again, a simple 1 2 3 4 on your unlock is very convenient, but as a result, the CNBC put out an article that ranked the 50 most common 4-digit pins that have actually been leaked on the dark web. So the story goes on to kind of explain about, how the most common 4-digit PIN is 1234. Again, I'm blown. My mind is blown at how people are
And
still
people still do
using
that.
that.
But people still use password 123 as well. So
I'd imagine.
people aren't smart.
Let me see. The story, or the study rather, is that the Australian Broadcasting Corporation published an analysis of data from the haveibeenpwned.com. You take that website, whatever the authority that you associate have I been pwned, that's your business.
That's your business if you can go on online.
Right. The data has a database of more than 320 million passwords and pins aggregated from past leaks. Some pins on the report list are only slightly more complex. So even if they're not doing 1234 or 000, whatever the case may be, 30 of the 50 most commonly leaked 4-digit pins start with a 19 or 20, potentially indicating someone's birth year or birth date or anniversary or the date their kids was born or whatever associated with a date, associated with something important to them. They're using that as a pin.
That's easily verifiable online.
Right. All you gotta do is go on Facebook and find out when somebody's birthday is. And if they're 19, do the math, put in a bunch of numbers, boom, it's more likely.
Do a little subtraction.
Yeah, right. Other common formats include repeating numbers like 1111, 0000. There's also 1342. Somebody thought that was cute. A rearrangement of the most common pin, 1234, and 2580, which draws a straight line down the middle of the most numerical keypads. So they'll just go 2580, and then that's their pin, or 0852, just so they know in the middle, which again, insanely easy to crack. So this is not the hookup section yet, but please, some word to the wise. I know it's hard to remember all these pins and all these passwords and all these codes, but good God, for your phone and your ATM card and your bank card and any other PIN that you put in, don't do anything simple, especially for your phone that has so much information in it, and all they need is to access your phone to be able to then run it through the paces to get all the data. My first suggestion is don't use a 4-digit PIN. Use a 5-digit PIN. Use a 6-digit PIN. Use a passphrase for your phone. For everything else that just needs a PIN, come up with something complex that you can remember that won't be easily cracked. Please, I'd appreciate it.
And one thing, kind of how you mentioned, is one of those things where convenience, people don't care as long as it's convenient. And that flows right into this as well. Is I don't want to be inconvenienced. I don't have to think too much. I want it to be easy to remember, and not taking into the full context that these things have everything. And someone, guessing your simple 4-digit passcode will, give them, open the keys to the kingdom. The other thing I'll say is, if you have anything that is touch sensitive, touchpad, especially like if I go to the ATM, I put my fingers on all of the keys. I just kind of go down, 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 because even if you have like a door that has like a passcode, you have oils in your hands. Put a little something dry like baby powder or something, it highlights what's the most oiliest and what's most used. So that's a way you can also kind of hide what your actual passcode is if you're typing in. But like I said, anytime I'm at the ATM, I run my fingers multiple times up and down the keypad before I put my pin in and after I put my pin in.
I don't even do all that. If your ATM ain't got it to where I can touch my phone and log in, then I just don't need money from that ATM right then and there. So, which is fine because I don't carry cash anyway. But the little cash I do need, I touch my watch or I touch my phone so we can do the mobile wallet thing. All right. So enough on that. We're going to move into For the Culture. We've got some Teching While Black, and we've got some issues with Beyonce. So I'm going to let you go ahead and do this Teching While Black segment.
Sure. So, this week's Teching While Black, we've all seen Hidden Figures, and it's centered around four women who were quote unquote human computers. And it gave us kind of the sense that, hey, these are the only ones. That's not so true. Annie J. Weasley is another Black NASA scientist and important leader in the ecosystem of Black leaders in tech. When she began her career, she was only one of four Black employees out of about 2,500 at the National Advisory Committee of Aeronautics. This was the precursor. This is what we now know as NASA. She started out as a human computer, but then eventually human computers became actual machines. So she adjusted, she adapted, she began to learn assembly languages. She also learned Fortran, and she became an actual computer programmer. And she worked on a litany of different types of projects. But her probably most famous project was called the Centaur rocket. And the Centaur rocket is, well, at the time, was a first of its kind rocket that used a unique fuel system. So this is still the same fuel system that is used today. In addition to her actual technical work, she was an advocate of STEM advocation and use because, again, I think she died in 2011. So she was, in that whole Jim Crow era, and to have this type of position and be a Black woman, she had to overcome a lot of discrimination, especially around Jim Crow, because it was still prevalent in that time. And so she was one of the hidden figures that we didn't learn about, but she had a great impact on space travel and that we still have today. So
Yep.
salute to you, Miss Annie J. Weasley.
Yep. Speaking of inconvenienced, she was dealing with all of the Jim Crow and discrimination, but she still found the fortitude to contribute on a global scale, but more specifically, with NASA, who they were kind of hid them off. I mean, hidden figures. That's the whole point, right? They kind of hit them in the back, but then use their contributions. To me, that would enrage me. But that's probably why I didn't create a rocket for NASA, and Annie J. Easley did, because
And was not born during that time.
yeah, right. I don't think I would have made it. But anyway, moving on to the next story. Your girl has got Ticketmaster jammed up. Of course, Beyonce announced her what's it called?
Cowboy
Cowboy
Carter.
Carter tour during her Grammy, or somewhere around the time she won all those Grammys. And now it's time to cash in and sell these tickets. And it looks like Ticketmaster can not hang. So I know you are a Beyonce fan. I'm pretty sure it's safe to say you at least looked to try to get a hold of some of these tickets. From the look of your face, it sounds like you were one of the hundreds of fans that flooded social media with complaints of long wait times, website glitches, and heartbreaking near misses as they attempted to secure their golden tickets. Some claim Ticketmaster crashed at the very moment they were about to complete their purchases, sparking widespread frustration. However, Ticketmaster swiftly refuted those claims and said the site did not crash. We always advise fans to make sure they only use one tab, clear their cookies, and do not use any VPN software on their device. So basically, Ticketmaster is blaming the customers and saying, hey, you crashed your own computer by using all those Google tabs. You were playing around with the VPN trying to pretend like you're buying tickets from different areas. You were the person that forgot to clear your cookies and clear your browser cache and shut down and restart your computer before you decided to buy these tickets. Do you buy any of those excuses from Ticketmaster? And, as an extension, tell us about your experience trying to get Beyonce tickets.
Yes, I hate to admit this, but Ticketmaster was correct in that it didn't crash on me at all.
Okay.
And it tells you at the beginning not to have multiple tabs open. it tells you all the things you outlined. They said not to do that because when you go, because what happened yesterday was the Beehive pre-sale. So they have all these pre-sales. So the Beehive has its own unique codes per pre-sale. There was a Citibank pre-sale. There was a Verizon pre-sale. There's an artist pre-sale tomorrow. So as you know, with buying any tickets, they have all these pre-sales going on. So people were trying to game the system to kind of move it around, because I'll tell you, tickets went on sale at noon. I got in the queue at 11:30. So you can only get into the queue 30 minutes before the tickets go on sale.
Yeah, right.
I was in the queue. I logged in and I used my laptop. I didn't even use my phone. I was being an old and I used my laptop because this is laptop type work.
Right.
And believe me, it's work because I have a group chat. We had to have a team meeting. We had a project plan. We had all these things because getting any type of ticket, but getting any type of Beyonce ticket is like going.
We've talked about it on this show before.
Yeah. Right. So, like I said, I got in, I was on my requisite 30 minutes in advance when noon hit. And I was, because when you log in and you say join the queue, that's basically like you standing in line and you're waiting to get to the ticket counter. So when the queue turned on at noon, there were over 12,000 people ahead of me in the queue. And I was on at 11:30.
Okay.
So that lets you know what it looks like. Now, my issue with Ticketmaster is I got in and there weren't a lot of tickets left. And I'm using quotes for those who can't see me. And it's one of those things where I had to keep refreshing the screen to see the tickets. So I had a group of tickets because it's a group of us going. I'm going to buy them all. Everybody's going to pay me back.
So before you do that, so you are the designated person to buy the tickets. You didn't have everybody trying to get tickets at the same time?
So some people were looking as well, and it was kind of like the first who gets in, but I'm not working. They all are at work. So it's like kind of like, you're the dedicated person. We trust whatever you get, but we'll be looking as well. And if we get in, then good. Because again, it's a whole group thread. So because it was different days. So initially it was only a 2-day. She was doing 2 shows at Atlanta and she added a 3rd date. So we decided that Sunday was going to be our date, but they were looking at the other dates as well. But there are a Thursday and a Friday. That's in the middle of the week. That's kind of rushed. Sunday would be ideal. So I'm in there. I have tickets finally. Before I select the 4 tickets. Before I could click on the checkout, the ticket, one of the tickets is gone. The next thing you know, all of them disappeared.
So what's the point of the queue if they don't then give you time to make a selection and check out?
Issue 1 with Ticketmaster.
All right.
Issue 2 with Ticketmaster was these tickets are already very expensive. So I'm talking $400 for a section 300.
Right, in the nosebleeds.
And if you've been to Mercedes-Benz,
any 300 is nosebleed, no matter where you are.
but even more so, the way the stadium is made, it makes you feel like you're going to fall over.
Right.
And so I'm a bit of a seat snob. I only like to do section 100, either club level.
So hold up. Hold that thought. Are you the only seat snob in your crew, or are there other people that's kind of like, that might be kind of...
We're all seat snobs.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
No, we're all the same.
All right.
We're all on the same page. We're down. We had, like I said, in the pre-meeting, in the team meeting before it, we kind of went over our hard stops, things we didn't want to go over, seats that were acceptable. Again, project plan, team meeting.
Because you don't got time to do all that in the middle of...
You don't have time. Right. You don't have time. So the seats I was originally looking at, I selected 3 sections that I would like to sit in. And that helped me because I didn't have to look all over the thing. I could concentrate on where I targeted, and that kind of helps you. So like I said, I clicked the 4 seats, couldn't check out. So then I went back and tried to select more. So again, I was looking at section 100 and I was looking in the club section. I was looking in the back part of section 100 that gives you like a straight on view of the stage. And I was looking at the club section because you get the drinks, you get the special entrance when you're sitting in the club section. So in the club level. So yeah. So problem number 2, with Ticketmaster, and it blew my mind. You could see the prices changing dynamically based on the interest.
Right.
There were tickets
That's
that I saw
crazy.
that we were like, okay, we were like, all right, 425. Or no, I think it was like 475. We're good with that. We can go with that. Those same seats, because I think what was happening is, I don't
Everybody's
know how
looking
the
at those
algorithm
tickets.
works over that. I don't even think it's that. I think the people at Ticketmaster are looking at what people are selecting. And when they see the interest, it's like, ooh, people like that. We're going to jack the price up. So tickets, seats that I specifically targeted, I saw the price go from 475 to 570 to 550 to 575 to 750 to 950, the same exact seats. And they went on a steady stream up. And so, like I said, is I even went back as early as this afternoon before the next pre-sale started to see if the prices had changed. Once they got to their peak, they're stuck there. They didn't come back down.
Not.
And so it's one of those things where it made it seem like, oh, this day is sold out. I went back. There aren't a lot of seats, but there are plenty enough seats that if people wanted to buy tickets, they could, because I saw people like, well, I missed out on this time, I missed out on that time. There are plenty of seats. The issue is they're at their peak price after they change dynamically based on people's interest.
You can find the seats. You don't have to rush around. You don't have to scramble, but you just have to come out the pocket.
You're going to have to pay a mortgage payment. And so this is the first time in my history of concert going, and specifically in my history of Beyonce concert going, that I didn't get that I know that I didn't get tickets.
Oh, you didn't?
I didn't get Beehive pre-sale tickets. And there are tickets there, and I told my group, I was like, we can get them, but they're gonna be at the elevated price. And people like, I don't know. And I was like, let's wait, because there's an artist pre-sale that's tomorrow.
And what is that?
And I was like, well, that's the pre-sale that's through Ticketmaster. That's a Ticketmaster Beyonce pre-sale.
Got it.
Like, again,
so let me ask you this. Speaking of those pre-sales, is there an authentication process that authenticates you for Beehive and Citymaster and this?
You get a code.
Oh, got it.
So you have to if you weren't already a member of the Beehive, which is basically just signing up for her
the fan club
mailing list. Yeah. Right. And so you had to sign up by a certain day to get these codes, but you're already a member, you're good. But yeah, so people were flipping out because midnight hit and nobody had their codes.
Oh, no.
The codes didn't come, and people freaking out on the internet, like, what my code at, girl? And it's one of those things where it didn't come in until like 2:30-ish in the morning. So by the time you woke up, you had your code. But the thing is, there are these unique codes that are associated with email addresses. So it's kind of like trying to say, I had my code. And then, my brother sent me his, another friend of ours sent me theirs, since I was the one kind of doing the tickets to be able to use. But it's one of those things where I had people saying, today that did the Verizon and the Citibank presale, that the ticket prices were much more reasonable.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, so girl, you tried to fleece your loyal Beehive members?
Well, so it may not be Beyonce. It may, like you mentioned, it may just mean that Ticketmaster and AI and all these things is doing this number crunching fast.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And has figured out quickly that people will pay for these tickets. So let's just run it up and see what happens.
And they did.
And people like immediately, like you said, you in the queue at 11:30 or whatever the case. I'm pretty sure they knew that people felt like, I need to get these tickets now,
or else I won't have them.
Or else I will never get them. I need to get them now. And Ticketmaster and them was like, bet. Run it on up,
and they played on people's emotions like that, because all the tickets aren't released at the same time. There was a Beehive, I believe, suite of seats. There's a Verizon suite of seats there, because you can't keep having these pre-sales and not have inventory available. Right. So that's why I told them, I was like, we can get them, but we're going to pay off the nose, or we can wait until the next pre-sale
Mm-hmm.
that we have access to.
And then
And I was like, now I've learned
mm-hmm.
what the game is and how they're doing this dynamic pricing. So basically, when I see the tickets, as soon as I get in, I'm just going to buy them.
So
And my
how
thing,
spaced out are the different pre-sales? Are they every day, every couple of hours? Is it a week?
every other day.
Every other day.
It was every day. So the Beehive pre-sale was on the 11th. The Verizon and Citibank one was today. The artist pre-sale is tomorrow, and then they go on regular sale on Valentine's Day.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they know what they're doing. Valentine's Day gifts, you get Beyonce tickets. I see what you're doing there. But yeah, so that's my biggest issue. Definitely getting in is it's stupid because you have to wait to get in, because it took me, once I was in the queue, it took me maybe another 30 minutes before it was my turn
Mm-hmm.
at the quote unquote ticket booth to be able to get in there. But even if you're in there as early as you can get in there, it's still thousands. I know I saw some people screenshots. It was like 70,000 people ahead of them. And I was like, girl, just try again later. Because again, you can still get tickets
Sure.
after all this is
Sure.
over. You're just going to have them at the peak price.
And not in the ideal spot and yada, yada, yada.
Right. But no, it's not even the ideal spot because they had some really good seat locations, but they just cost, again, when I first looked, they were like $475 or $450 or whatever. And then by the end of this, when I looked today, they were like $1,400, $1,450. And it was insane. So again, my takeaway from this is tomorrow when I do this again, as soon as I get in there,
you a
and
blind
I'm available,
6, you're gonna bid a blind pop.
Pop, whatever I can get, I'm doing, because I know that the price is going to go up. And I was maybe online initially I got on at 11:30. I think I officially shut down my computer at 2, but I basically stopped at 1. And so it was one of those things where it didn't take long for them to ratchet up the price. So it was one of those things where once you get in and you're able to get something in your cart to check out immediately. It's unfortunately that you feel that rushed, but that's a part of their plan to kind of force you into it. But Ticketmaster, you will crumble.
Yeah,
I would hope. I wish.
I don't see it. The only way it happens.
I know. It's only in my mind.
Yeah,
I'm delusional. I'm Delulu.
The only way it happens is if they get broken up. Ticketmaster, Live Nation, they have to force them to compete. Because right now, Ticketmaster, Live Nation, they don't have to compete with anybody.
Now, for anything.
Now, I understand how Ticketmaster's tactics change for larger artists like Beyonce, like Taylor Swift, like, Drake, Kendrick Lamar, Usher, whomever is like Lady Gaga, anybody that's like top tier global tour type. I can understand Ticketmaster being like, yo, we're going to get this money. But the problem with that is they treat everybody like Beyonce, like Lady Gaga, like Taylor Swift. I don't care if it's like your neighborhood, group that, is known in their city. Wherever city you go to, I'm pretty sure there's that one group that, they do a good job of, showing love for their city, right? Ticketmaster treat them like that. They got to pay the same fees. They got to pay the same percentages, the same process. I think it should be a process if you are this tier. And then there's a process if you're this tier on up to Beyonce and them.
The mega superstars.
Right, right. Ticketmaster shouldn't treat, your local group the same as far as how the deals and how the money's split and the percentages as a Beyonce. And I think that's the problem, because these smaller artists, they can't avoid Ticketmaster and Live Nation, because Live Nation owns the venues, Ticketmaster owns the software.
Owns that platform.
Right.
Yeah. And the third thing of my problem with Ticketmaster, so you put your tickets in the thing, it gives you a subtotal. By the time you get to the checkout, you're up another $200
because of the fees.
And you know what they do now? You know what they do now? They charge you separately for the fees.
Oh,
so in your
do
credit
they?
card statement, you'll see the subtotal that you paid for the actual
They ain't
tickets, and
slick.
there's another line item that covers just the
They ain't
fees.
slick. They trying to break it up so you can actually believe
Yep.
that you only paid $400 for the tickets.
Yep.
When in actuality, you
Yep.
paid $600
You
for those
paid
tickets.
Yep. Exactly.
Slick. All right. Well, you keep us posted on
Good luck.
your
Good luck to me.
on your Beyonce ticket travels. Let us know next week if you were able to secure them and what was that whole process like.
Lift me up in prayer. The group that I was getting the tickets for, they sent their prayer emojis up, and everybody was praying for each other on social media because
No,
you
they
need
wasn't.
prayer
The
to get tickets.
the tweets and the things I saw, the Beehive OGs was mad at the newer Beehive people, and
Because why you there? You weren't in the trenches. You weren't there.
just
And now that she got this album of the year, she got other people
yeah.
because they went and listened to the album, and now they're on TikTok. Oh my God, what was I thinking? This is amazing. You got why I gotta compete with people who just got here?
I definitely
That is not fair. It should be tiered. Some of us should be grandfathered in.
Yeah.
If you bought Sacred, you should be able to get in first. If you bought some of her clothing from Adidas, you should be able to get in first. Your tenure in the Beehive should be considered.
Well,
how many tickets you've previously bought should be considered.
That only works if the Beehive or any fan group there is a whole company. She needs a whole company running just the fan group, the Beehive, because it's, I don't want to say unorganized, but they definitely need some more manpower or something behind the Beyonce side of the tickets, not the Ticketmaster side and not the Live Nation side, the management of the crew. Seems like there needs to be more organization for them to do the different tiers, prove you're a Beyonce fan by doing this and that and this and that and the other.
Because I think somebody said that Bad Bunny on his last ticket sale, you had like take like a little online test to prove. And I was like, yes, give us something. But I will say, when Renaissance first came out and she was doing like the shows that were a precursor, so they had like club venues or whatever, I think they were testing out to see if they could implement this broadly. So you basically had to like scan your ID to like verify that you were a person. So, and then it was like a whole bunch of hoops you had to try to get through to like prove that you were an individual person and not like a broker or bot who buys them up. And I appreciated the effort, but the software was trash.
It's either six in one hand, half a dozen in the other.
I tweeted, I was like, hey girl, if you need somebody to work on the infrastructure for you, tap me in because this was terrible. Terrible, I tell you.
That may be a lane for you. I would stay on it. Put your little resume out there on the social medias. Talk about, put your little TikTok presentation together on why the Beehive needs me on their infrastructure and do a nice little shoot. It might take you somewhere. I ain't even front. All right, so that is it for the culture. Real quickly, we're going to move into the hookup. And if you are a heavy Notes app user like I am, you will appreciate this hookup. I did not know, or I never noticed, that there is a quick way for you to switch between notes in the Notes app. Right now, open up the Notes app on your phone. You open up the specific note. And in order to like switch back, because I do a lot of switching, I link to different notes in the app. I may be using one note for a reference and another note to compile stuff. So I switch between notes a lot. And and right now, the way you switch to a note is you got to click the back button,
go back,
and you got to go do a search to find the note that you need to reference
the
or
thing
whatever
you're looking for.
Yeah. So my tip is there is a way to actually view the most recent open notes in the Notes app. So basically what you do is, of course, you open the Notes app and then you open up a note. And then in the upper right-hand corner, there's a 3 dots menu button. You tap that, it'll give you a list of additional options. One of those additional options is the recent notes option. If you click that drop down next to the recent notes, it'll automatically show you like the top maybe 10 frequently opened or frequently used notes. So you can imagine how this can help. If you're looking at two notes, you just open up those two notes and then you use this recent notes feature to quickly go back and forth in between the notes. So that is my hookup for the week. If you are a heavy notes user, there is a way to flip between your most recent notes in the app. So nice. I think the technology is telling us our time is up. So that's going to do it for this week's show. So Nika, tell the folks where they can find you.
You can find me at Tech Savvy Diva everywhere.
And you can find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BrothaTech. If you want to follow up with the show, please go to the show's website. Go to snoboscast.com. That'll give you everything you need to know about the show. So until next week, we're out. Peace.
Bye, everybody.